In this episode, we're going to show you how simple it is to put a lift on a Toyota 4Runner.
So simple, even a moron can do it.
Wait, what?
We're going to be covering a lot in this episode, so grab some popcorn, sit back, and enjoy the show.
This is Wanderlust Overland.
Where the heck are we?
This can't be right. There are dozens of options for lifts out there, and they're all great for the driving conditions that they're designed for. They range from the inexpensive spacer lifts to the ultra expensive long travel setups. Now, if you're like us and you don't plan on competing in the Baja or the King of Hammers or anything like that, but you will be doing some occasional serious off-roading with your daily driver, you're going to need a setup like this. All this is specifically designed to take on the toughest terrain you could think of and yet give you a nice, comfortable ride on the highway.
We've been running this particular setup on our FJ for quite some time, and we were so pleased with its performance that we asked ToyTec Lifts to send us another complete set for our new 4Runner.
Well, we might as well start in the front since, we already have. Now, before we took the wheels off, we took a measurement from the ground up to the fender lip just to get the ride height for stock, and we'll compare that to our lift later. Now, it's pretty much just a matter of taking out the old and putting in the new. Now, if your vehicle is equipped with the KDSS system, which ours isn't, you can still put on a lift like this. And if your friends tell you can't, you should find new friends. Just ask your lift supplier the best procedure for temporarily disconnecting the KDSS system so you can get the coilovers in and out.
So the new coilovers are a little bit larger in diameter than stock, and it causes a conflict with the sway bar. With our kit, ToyTec provided these brackets, which will move the sway bar forward just enough to clear the coils.
Okay, so obviously we have to get this skid plate off of here first. Alright, so this is where those sway bar brackets go, and what we're going to do is we're going to disconnect the sway bar, get those brackets in, but leave the sway bar disconnected for now until we get the new coilovers on.
When you raise most Toyota independent front suspensions, you throw off the range of adjustment that's necessary for proper alignment. Something you should consider doing is replacing your upper control arms with aftermarket ones like these that have adjustable ball joints.
They may also be necessary to fit some custom wheels, and they're a heck of a lot stronger than the stamped stock ones. Okay, changing out the upper arm is pretty simple. You can see we've already got the spindle here tied off to something so that it doesn't go flipping flopping around when we disconnect the ball joint right here. We have the ABS line disconnected from the arm, and we have to take out this long bolt. This thing goes from here to here, and it's got to go out that way, and you get to that from under the hood. To get a socket on this bolt, the long bolt, I'm going to have to disconnect this brake line bracket right here from the frame, kind of push it off to the side a little bit. There, see? Easy as that. Now, as you can see, it's pretty much wide open here. We can easily get this coilover out and a new one in because the upper control arm is off. Now, if you do not change out your upper control arm, in order to get the coilover out, you may have to disconnect the tie rod end and swing it out of the way in order to get the coilover down and out that way.
The meat and potatoes of lifting the front are the coilovers, and these are fully adjustable to vary the load, to compensate for the additional front end weight, and to dial into the perfect lift height.
To undo the coilover, 3 nuts at the top, 1 big bolt at the bottom. Now you may have to, we don't have to in this case, but you may have to either pry it down on the upper control arm or down on the lower to get this out from up here. Ours is coming out really easy. And there it is. Okay, on our Boss 2.5s from ToyTec, they go on in a specific way. This oil plug right here, that has to face out towards the tire. And these bushings at the bottom, the longer one goes towards the front of the truck. Okay, this is a case where I am going to have to push down on the lower control arm to get this bad boy in there. And we just put the new one in the way we took the old one out. Don't forget the big washers. And those of you who have been watching our videos, you know that I like Loctite and Never Sees. Loctite on the stuff you don't want to come apart, and Never Sees on stuff that you do want to come apart later. Now on this bracket for the ABS line, do yourself a favor and throw away the bolt that came out of the stock arm and go to the hardware store and get some stronger bolts, because the ones that the factory put in, they're going to snap off. We snapped both of them off on our FJ, and these are much better. Now while we're in here, we're going to do a little preventative maintenance on this. These cam bolts on the lower arms are notorious for freezing up, and it's absolutely necessary that they're free for proper alignment. So we're going to take one out at a time and coat them really good with Never Sees. Put them back in. Okay, on to the sway bar relocation brackets, and these are really simple to put in. It just moves the sway bar mount forward about 3/4 of an inch or so. Now we're also installing a front differential drop. It only drops it maybe 3/4 of an inch or so, or maybe 1 inch. What that does is it provides a better angle for the CV axles. What we need to do is take these two bolts out and then put this spacer in between here. They give you a nice longer grade 8 bolt, and it's pretty simple. Okay, now we can put the sway bar back up in there. Now, when we go to put these radiator support brackets back up, they have the potential to come in contact with the sway bar. So what ToyTec does is they give you these little spacers to put one here and one back here. Now one more thing before we move to the rear, we're going to change out these rubber engine splash guards that we took off. We're going to switch them out with these super heavy duty ones from Rad Rubber Designs.
If yours aren't torn up yet, believe me, they will be before too long. We figure this inexpensive step will save us from possible damage and cleanup down the road.
So we already pulled off all the old ones, took all the old fasteners out, because Rad Rubber Designs gives you all new fasteners. Well, as you can see, we made it to the rear. Now, the first thing we want to do is disconnect the shocks. That'll allow the axle to drop down in order to get the springs out. We already disconnected our sway bar links. Now, again, if you have the KDSS system, you're going to have to disconnect it from where it mounts solid to the frame, I guess. Now, to get the tops, you just simply have to loosen this up. Now, if you have some old crusty shocks on, this may not come loose, so just take a saw and cut it right off. All right, shocks are out, sway bars disconnected, and hopefully the rear end will drop enough to get those springs out. All right, they're loose, but I think I might be able to get them out. Mary stands on the side here. Okay, turns out if you raise up the other end, this end comes down a little bit. And, oh, look it's out.
We chose ToyTec's optional heavier capacity, super flexy rear springs to carry all our gear and occasionally pull a trailer.
Now these much taller springs are going to go in a lot harder than these short stock ones. To make things go a little easier, you can use these spring compressors. But be very careful. If these things let loose, they can take off your face or something much worse. All right, so we got the passenger side in. That seems to be the harder one. One thing that we did in addition to disconnecting the sway bar is we actually disconnected the track bar on the passenger side, and that lets the axle drop even more. And I had Mary stand on the hub on that side. Now, just a simple matter. This driver's side seems to be a little bit easier to get to. Oops, wait, I forgot. Got to reuse this. Hopefully it will fit. There we go. And it's in. Now, one thing that you need to make sure is here at the bottom that the end of the spring touches the perch down here.
Back here we're putting on ToyTec's Boss 2.0 shocks with oil reservoirs. The extra capacity helps keep the oil from overheating and causing shock fade.
Now these are super simple to install. Just a nut at the top and a bolt goes through the bottom. I wish Toyota would have given a little bit more room right here, huh? But it'll work. We just have to get this started.
We asked ToyTec to send us a set of brackets to mount our remote reservoirs. We drilled a hole, and now we'll secure it with a self-tapping bolt.
ToyTec also sent us these extended rear bump stops. They go here, you take off the original, put these on, and put the rubber underneath. Well, there you have it. All the components are on, and now we're going to go and take it for a drive for maybe 20 miles or so, let the suspension settle a bit, then we'll come back inside, take measurements at the wheel wells, and maybe do some fine tuning with the coilovers just in case one side is leaning a little bit more than the other, and then off to the alignment shop.
Coming soon, sliders.
We just got back from a long drive down some real bumpy roads. We remeasured from the lip down to the ground, and we have 3 inches of lift in the front and 3 in the back. It's very, very level side to side. The driver's side is down maybe 3/8 of an inch over the passenger side. So we're going to crank it up just a little bit just to level it out. Now we put it up on jack stands, got the weight off of both front tires, and now we're going to spin this with the supplied spanner wrench. First you have to loosen up this top collar. Go. We got that top collar loose. So now we're going to crank down, going clockwise, looking down about 3/16 of an inch. Because the travel on here is half of what you want to raise. So took a little measurement from the top of the collar right to this line here, to the red. It's just putting a little bit more tension on that spring. Perfect, right there. So we'll tighten up that locking collar again, and we'll be good to go. Alright, first thing in the morning, we run it over to our alignment tech. Now one more thing we're going to do before we call it a night is we're going to go through this and check every single nut and bolt we touched and check torque and tightness and make sure nothing's going to fall off. Now this is no longer a hockey mom grocery getting SUV.
No offense, we love hockey and groceries.
What I mean is the ride is a little firmer. It's not stiff or harsh at all. And I think it, despite the higher center of gravity, I think it corners better. And you know that nosedive that we get when we hit the brakes? That's virtually gone. I think the best word to describe it is capable.
Capable? It's red hot.
Capable of hauling all our heavy gear, capable of off-roading in rocks and sand and mud and whatever, and yet capable of giving us a really nice, comfortable ride on the street. A very capable overlanding vehicle. Now we'll likely have to do some trimming in the inner fender well to keep these bigger tires from rubbing while off-roading. Follow us on Facebook for updates on that, and follow us on Instagram for pictures of our 4Runner
And FJ.
in their natural habitat.
Back here we're putting on ToyTec's Boss 2.0 shocks. The meat and potatoes of the front end lift. No. You can vary the weight. No, vary the load on the spring. Check, 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 check. Mic check. To vary the load on the springs. To compensate for the added. No. Damn it. The meat and potatoes of lifting to compensate for the heavier front end. The meat and potatoes of lifting the front to compensate for the to vary the load on the springs because of we chose ToyTec's optional super it.
Keep going, keep going, keep going.